The atmosphere inside the Sepang International Circuit during the recent preseason sessions was anything but orcades. The Japanese manufacturer has been the lone guardian of the inline-4 engine philosophy, a configuration that prioritized surgical handling and high corner speed. However, as the digital timing screens began to light up with record-breaking sectors from Ducati and KTM, the Yamaha M1 remained stationary behind half-drawn shutters. This wasn't just a tactical delay. It was a visible manifestation of a technical crisis that has been brewing for years. Reporters on the ground noted a frantic energy among the Japanese engineers, who appeared to be struggling with a power delivery issue that some insiders have described as a terminal performance ceiling for the current engine layout. When Fabio Quartararo finally emerged, his body language was a clear indicator of the internal turmoil. The gap on the straights wasn't just a few kilometers per hour. It was a chasm that made the M1 look like a Category B machine. This Sepang Blackout served as the final evidence that the inline-4 era of dominance had officially reached its physical limits. The engineering team realized that no amount of aerodynamic winglets or electronic mapping could compensate for a fundamental lack of raw horsepower. The decision to pack up early wasn't a surrender, but a pivot toward a secret project that had been whispered about in the hospitality suites for months. Yamaha was preparing to bury its heritage to save its future. But while the world watched the empty garage in Malaysia, a secret shipment was already being offloaded under the cover of night at the Buriram docks, carrying a machine that the paddock was never supposed to see this early. In the high-stakes world of Grand Prix racing, changing an engine configuration is the equivalent of a heart transplant while running a marathon. For Yamaha, the inline-4 wasn't just a part, it was their identity. It was the architecture that allowed Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo to dominate through finesse rather than brute force. However, modern MotoGP has evolved into a stop-and-go sport, where the ability to accelerate violently out of a corner is more valuable than the ability to carry speed through it. Investigative reports suggest that the decision to build a V4 engine was met with massive internal resistance within the Iwata headquarters. The old guard of Japanese engineering viewed the move as a betrayal of their engineering philosophy. Yet the data provided by the 2025 season was undeniable. The inline-4 is physically wider, which creates a larger aerodynamic profile and limits the ground effect downforce that has become the new frontier of performance. By moving to a V4, Yamaha is effectively rebuilding the entire bike from the ground up. The chassis, the swing arm, and the cooling systems all have to be redesigned to accommodate the narrower, more compact V-angle. It is a staggering financial and intellectual investment that most manufacturers would take 3 years to complete. Yamaha is attempting to do it in months. The risk of a catastrophic failure is high, as the V4 generates significantly more heat and vibrations than the smooth inline-4. If they get the firing order wrong, or if the vibrations shatter the carbon fiber chassis, the project could set the team back by a decade. They are no longer competing against Ducati. They are competing against the laws of physics and their own history. They traded their legendary agility for raw, unadulterated power. But top-tier insiders are already questioning if Yamaha has made a deal with the devil that they aren't prepared to handle. Buriram, Thailand, is known for its punishing humidity and a layout that demands everything from a motorcycle's cooling system and engine durability. It was the perfect location for a classified Black Ops test. Yamaha moved their operations here to escape the prying eyes of the European media and the rival team photographers who use high-powered lenses to steal technical secrets. Our sources indicate that the Buriram test was the first time the V4 prototype was pushed to its absolute thermal limits. The goal was simple: survival. In the 104-degree heat, the engineers were monitoring heat soak issues that had reportedly plagued the initial dyno runs in Japan. This private session wasn't about setting purple sectors on the timing screen. It was about ensuring the engine didn't melt itself from the inside out. Technical analysts observed a completely new fairing package featuring shark fin extractors and a massive lower aeroduct, designed specifically to manage the extreme temperatures of the V4. The tension in the garage was reportedly suffocating, as every lap completed was a small victory for the reliability team. However, the real drama was occurring on the telemetry screens. The V4 was showing a torque curve that was significantly more vertical than the old M1. While this solved the acceleration problem, it created a new nightmare for the chassis designers. The bike was described by test riders as nervous and volatile on the brakes, a far cry from the bicycle-like handling that Fabio Quartararo has relied on for his entire career. Yamaha is essentially trying to tame a wild animal while the clock for the 2026 season opener is ticking down. Then, on the final afternoon of the test, the internal monitors showed a top-speed figure that caused the lead engineers to stop breathing. But the celebration was cut short by a discovery in the oil filters. To accelerate this massive transition, Yamaha has made a strategic move that has shifted the political landscape of the paddock: the partnership with Pramac Racing. By bringing in a satellite team with deep Ducati DNA, Yamaha is effectively buying intellectual shortcuts. The presence of Jack Miller in the Buriram test was a pivotal component of this strategy. Miller, a veteran of both Ducati and KTM V4 programs, provides a Rosetta Stone for Yamaha's engineers. He can translate what the V4 should feel like compared to the class-leading Desmos Desai. Alongside him, the inclusion of Toprak Razgatlioglu as a development consultant adds a layer of limit testing that Yamaha hasn't had since the days of Cal Crutchlow. However, our paddock reporters have picked up on a growing friction between the factory feedback and the satellite data. There are rumors that the data coming from Miller's side of the garage is highlighting flaws in the Yamaha chassis that the Japanese engineers are hesitant to acknowledge. This creates a data war within the brand. Toprak, known for his extreme late braking style, is reportedly putting stresses on the new V4 front end that the engineers didn't anticipate, leading to front tire chatter that could ruin a race distance. The experiment of using Pramac as a guinea pig is a double-edged sword. It provides more data, but it also exposes the bike's weaknesses to more people. If the collaboration doesn't harmonize quickly, Yamaha will find itself with a mountain of data but no clear direction on which voice to trust. While Toprak pushed the front tire to the point of collapse, Fabio Quartararo was seen in a heated closed-door meeting with the team principal, and the subject wasn't just about the engine. If the V4 engine is the heart of the new Yamaha, the electronic system is the brain, and right now, that brain is struggling to communicate with the body. Reports from the technical bay in Thailand suggest that the biggest hurdle isn't the hardware, but the software mapping required to manage the V4's power delivery. In the previous inline-4 era, Yamaha's traction control was legendary for its smoothness. The V4, however, delivers its power in explosive pulses that are currently confusing the sensors. This has led to a phenomenon known as rear-end pump, where the tire spins uncontrollably, then grips suddenly, causing the bike to lurch and destabilize. This is a safety concern that the technical team is treating with extreme urgency. To combat this, Yamaha has reportedly recruited top-tier electronic specialists from the European aerospace and automotive industries, moving away from their traditional in-house only software development. They are trying to create a predictive traction control system that can anticipate the V4's slide before it happens. During the long-run simulations in Buriram, the riders were instructed to experiment with various engine mappings mid-corner, a task that requires immense mental focus at 200 miles per hour. The feedback was mixed. While the Map 3 configuration offered incredible drive out of the corners, it decimated the rear Michelin tire in less than 6 laps. This is the Goldilocks problem. The bike is either too slow to win or too fast to survive a full race distance. The engineers are working against a deadline that doesn't care about their technical hurdles. The technical staff claimed the electronic glitch was solved by Sunday, but the riders were about to put that claim to a high-speed test that nearly ended in a disaster for the prototype. As the private test concluded under the dim lights of the Buriram paddock, the mission shifted from development to evaluation. Was the V4 a success? The raw data suggests that Yamaha has closed a 3-year horsepower gap in a single winter. The top speeds are now within the strike zone of Ducati and KTM, meaning Fabio Quartararo will finally have a weapon to defend himself on the straights. However, the price of this power has been the destruction of Yamaha's famous sweet handling. The bike is now a physical, demanding brute that requires the riders to change their entire muscle memory. They can no longer flow through the corners, they must stop, pivot, and fire. This is a philosophical shift that will redefine the 2026 season. The aftermath of the Thai test has left the paddock in a state of high alert. Rivals who once dismissed Yamaha as a backmarker are now carefully analyzing the grainy spy shots of the new aero package. Yamaha is no longer the predictable, aging champion. They are now the unpredictable wildcard with a dangerous, unrefined prototype. The Blue Revival isn't a guarantee of victory, but it is a guarantee of a fight. As the crates are packed for the season opener, the heavy silence of Sepang has been replaced by a vibrating, nervous energy. The V4 project is a go, but the stability of the engine and the team's championship hopes remains as fragile as a house of cards in a hurricane. The 2026 season won't just be a race for points. It will be a test of whether Yamaha's gamble was a stroke of genius or a desperate act of self-destruction. The first corner of the opening round will be the ultimate judge, but for now, the message to the rest of the grid is clear. The giant has finally stopped sleeping, and it's no longer playing by the old rules.